when my parents left me on Grandma's porch saying, "We'll be right back." They never returned. I kept asking Grandma, "When will they come?" She'd murmur, "Soon, sweetheart." At school, people asked where my parents were. I lied. "They're just away for work." The years slipped by in silence. Then one day 9 years later, at Grandma's funeral, my mom reached for a hug like nothing happened. I stepped back and said, "Why did you leave me?" She couldn't meet my eyes. After the funeral, she messaged me, "Can we talk? Just once." Can you imagine being 10 years old, driven to your grandma's house by your smiling parents who tell you they'll be right back after running some errands? Only they never come back. Not for years. But the real soul-crushing kick to the gut? That was when they finally did show up. At my grandmother's funeral. Honestly, I don't really do this. I'm not one to air out my personal stuff online, but right now, I feel like I'm losing my mind just thinking about it all again. And the way people act like everything's fine, like it's just complicated family stuff, is just wild to me. So yeah, here's my story. It was summer. I was 10. I remember that day like it was yesterday. The sky was impossibly bright, almost mocking. My mom was acting super peppy, which was already a red flag. She's usually the quiet but quick to snap type. My dad was trying too hard to be funny, nudging me, making lame jokes. It all felt so off. We were in the car, heading to Grandma's. The radio was a little too loud, and Mom kept telling Dad to turn it down, then just doing it herself. She always had to be in control. I wasn't even supposed to be at Grandma's that day. It was totally random. I had my backpack, my tablet, a charger, a hoodie, but nothing else. Not even my toothbrush. Struck me as weird even then. We pulled up and my dad says, "Go on, we'll be right in." But when they came in, Grandma was already at the door. You could just see it on her face. She wasn't expecting them, or maybe she was, but it was still a shock. They barely said hello. Just mumbled something about running errands and being back soon. My mom kept giving Grandma these loaded looks, and Grandma just gave this tired shrug back. Nobody said anything real. I was 10, so I just went with it. Adults are weird, right? They'll come back. I sat on Grandma's old couch, playing games on my tablet, watching her do her crossword. She kept offering me snacks. But mostly I was just glued to the driveway, waiting for their car. Hours turned into, hours. When it got dark and their car still hadn't appeared, that's when I started asking Grandma, "When are they coming back?" She'd just say in this really quiet voice, "Soon. Any day now." And she'd pat my hand. That first night I slept in Grandma's guest room, which was basically a storage closet with a twin bed. I kept waking up, heart pounding, convinced I heard their car. For a whole week I genuinely thought they'd show up. I bugged Grandma constantly. She'd just sigh, "They'll be back. You'll see." But she never looked me in the eye when she said it. 2 weeks later I started school. Using Grandma's address. She bought me a lunchbox with puppies on it, which was mortifying for a 10-year-old. But I didn't say a word. Teachers would ask about my parents. "When are they picking you up?" I just say they were busy. Which was true, I guess, but in that way where nothing felt true anymore. The other kids didn't really get it. One girl, Sydney, kept asking who I lived with. "My grandma for now," I'd say, and she'd act like that was perfectly normal. I tried texting my mom from Grandma's ancient phone. No replies. My dad's number just rang and rang. A couple times actual physical letters arrived from my parents. Like actual letters with stamps. Even then it felt so bizarre. My mom's handwriting, my dad's dumb jokes scribbled in the margins. They always said they were sorting things out and would be back soon. But nothing ever happened. Sometimes, late at night, I'd hear Grandma on the phone, her voice a low murmur. I knew it was my mom. I tried to make out the words. Once I heard Grandma say clear as day, "She's asking about you." Then after a pause, a whisper, "I know, but she's your kid." After those calls, Grandma would be extra tired and suddenly super strict about bedtime. The thing is, when you think about abandonment, you picture this huge dramatic moment, right? But for me, for years it was just boring. Most of the time you just wait, and nothing happens. Nobody tells you anything real, so you just make up stories in your head. I kept telling myself they were coming back, that this was just a weird blip. But deep down I knew. Something was seriously wrong. Grandma tried her best, I guess. She was old with her own life going on. She'd try to make my favorite food, but it never tasted quite right. She wasn't mean, but she just didn't know what to do with a kid. Sometimes she'd snap at me for forgetting chores or leaving my shoes out. She'd get mad, then later she'd give me candy like she felt bad. She had her own friends, ladies she'd go to bingo with. They'd come over, gossiping and laughing, and I'd just sit in my room, playing on my tablet, feeling like a ghost. Maybe a year in, I tried to bring it up again. When are they coming? Grandma just looked at me, her eyes tired. You know, she said. I don't have the answer to that. I didn't ask again for a long time. The only time I saw my parents' names was on birthday cards. It was the most awkward thing. Hope to see you soon. Love, Mom and Dad. Always with a crisp $20 bill tucked inside. After a while, I just stopped opening them. They piled up in my desk drawer. Aunt Denise would call sometimes, asking if I wanted to stay over. But it always sounded like she was doing Grandma a favor. I went once, but her kids were way younger. It was just boring. Nobody ever really asked if I was okay. Only if I was being good for Grandma. At school, I started getting into trouble for stupid stuff. Talking back. Not doing assignments. My 5th grade teacher told me I was acting out. I just shrugged. What was I supposed to say? My parents disappeared, and I don't know why. I started lying a lot. Told people my parents traveled for work or were in another city. Nobody really believed me, but nobody cared enough to push it either. I got good at dodging questions or just laughing them off. I found friends who didn't ask too many questions. We'd skate behind the library, or just sit around talking nonsense. I told them I lived with Grandma because my parents were having issues, which I guess was technically true. But sometimes someone would push too far. I get so mad. Once I shoved Lance into a bush because he kept making jokes about my mystery parents. He didn't talk to me for a week. Nobody snitched, but I still got called into the office. The counselor asked if everything was okay at home. I just said I was tired. They didn't push it. And that's how it went. For years. Grandma and me. Her house full of weird old furniture and doilies. Me doing homework at the kitchen table. Her making soup that always tasted like onions. The only real fights we had were about chores, or if I forgot to call her when I was late. Sometimes I'd get so angry I'd scream, I want to go home. And she'd just say, this is your home now. God, I hated that. I started spending more time online, just scrolling mindlessly, watching stupid videos, texting people I barely knew. I guess that's when it really hit me. This was just my life now. Nobody was coming for me. I'd see my friends post family pictures and it would just hit me how different my life was. I tried talking to Grandma about calling my parents, but she'd just shake her head. They'll call when they're ready, she'd say. Like it was all up to them. Sometimes I'd get so furious I'd just walk. A couple times I left and didn't come back until after dark. Grandma would be waiting at the door, arms crossed. You scared me, she'd say, then go back to her shows. I knew she cared, but she never said it out loud. Then, when I was about 12, my mom actually called. Grandma handed me the phone. My mom was so awkward asking about school, then saying she missed me. I just said, okay. She said she'd see me soon. She never did. After that, I just stopped expecting anything. I started telling people my parents moved away and couldn't take me with them. People believe that more than the busy with work story, I guess. So yeah, that's how it began. People always think there's this big dramatic moment when you realize you've been abandoned. But it's really just a bunch of tiny things. Not having anyone show up for parent-teacher night. Never getting picked up after practice. Eventually you just stop asking. The last time I asked Grandma when they were coming back, she just looked at me and said, any day now. But she didn't even try to sound convincing. I think that was the day I knew. She was lying. And nobody was coming. Fast forward to 2021. Grandma's health had been declining for a while, but that year it got worse fast. She was in and out of the hospital constantly. And every time I asked if my parents knew, she'd say, don't bother them. I was 19 then. I was doing most of the housework, figuring out bills, groceries, but everyone just assumed I was fine because I was mature. Some of my friends started ghosting me because I never had time to go out. Or maybe I just stopped trying. The house would get so quiet at night. Just the TV on and Grandma sleeping in her chair. Sometimes she'd wake up confused and call me by my mom's name. It's weird, you know? Like you're the only person left, but you're still not really seen. When Grandma finally died, it was just me and her in the house. I had to call Aunt Denise, and she was the one who told everyone else. The day of the funeral was so strange. The weather was too nice. Sunny and windy. I kept thinking how Grandma would be yelling at me for not wearing a jacket. I was angry about everything but also just numb. I just wanted it to be over. And then here's where it gets absolutely wild. My parents actually showed up. I hadn't seen them in years. They never called. Never visited. Just those empty birthday cards and sometimes a text so generic it could have been for anyone. I was standing near the chapel entrance waiting for people to come in. I looked up and there was my mom. She looked almost the same, just older, more tired. My dad was behind her carrying a bouquet of flowers, like he didn't know what else to do with his hands. They both tried to act casual, like this was just a normal family gathering. My mom went in for a hug, arms outstretched. I just stepped back. She froze. This awful, heavy silence filled the air. My dad just shrugged like, "What do you want us to do?" Aunt Denise was glaring at them, but she didn't say a word. Other relatives were whispering. You could just feel the awkwardness. My cousin Vita kept asking if I was okay, but it was that fake concern, you know? Like she just wanted to know the drama. I just said I was fine and went to check on the food table. The whole service was a blur. People got up and talked about Grandma, how strong she was, how much she loved her family. All I could think was how she never really got to rest. Not with all the crap my parents dumped on her. My parents sat in the back, not talking to anyone. After the service, people were mingling, eating cookies, doing that thing where nobody knows what to say. My mom tried again, coming up to me, putting her hand on my shoulder. I just looked at her. And I said it. "Why did you abandon me?" She didn't answer. Just looked down at her shoes. My dad said something about how they had their reasons, but he wouldn't look at me either. I guess this is where it got messy. Aunt Denise just started. "You have no right to show up like this after all these years." My mom tried to say she was always thinking about me. Denise just laughed. "Sure you were." One of the older relatives, Rita, stepped in. "This isn't the time." My mom looked like she might cry, but honestly, I was just annoyed. It all got louder. My dad tried to say they never meant for things to turn out like this. Then Denise was yelling that Grandma deserved better. And my mom started in about how hard it was for them. Like they were the victims. I just walked away. I went outside, stood by the parking lot, scrolling aimlessly on my phone, not even seeing the screen. Someone slammed the door inside, probably Denise. I heard Vita calling my name, but I ignored her. She followed me out, asked if I wanted to come back in. "I need air," I said. A few people came out, tried to talk, but mostly it was that awful, awkward silence. My parents eventually came out too, standing by their car, like they didn't know if they should leave or not. My mom kept glancing at me, waiting for me to do something. Finally, she walked over, tried one more time to hug me. I stepped back again. She looked hurt, but I didn't care. My dad said, "We should talk. You're old enough now." I just stared at him. "Talk about what?" He didn't answer, just looked at my mom. She said, "They did what they thought was best. That they weren't ready. That I was better off with Grandma." I looked at her, truly confused. How is leaving your kid better for anyone? She didn't answer. Just wiped her eyes and walked away. People started leaving, saying their goodbyes, giving me those awkward hugs where you can tell they don't actually want to get involved. Denise pulled me aside. "You don't have to talk to them if you don't want to. You're allowed to be mad." She said she always thought what they did was wrong. But nobody wanted to make it a big family drama. I just nodded. I didn't want to talk about it anymore. After most people were gone, my parents were still by their car. My mom finally got in, slammed the door. My dad stood there for a second, then got in too. They drove off. Later, when I was back inside, cleaning up, Vita was scrolling through her phone, showing me pictures people posted from the funeral. She acted like it was all just another event, like she didn't get why I was upset. I told her to stop. She just shrugged. "I'm just trying to help." I found a text on my phone from my mom. "Hey sweetie, been thinking about you." I didn't reply. For the next few days, people kept messaging, calling, asking if I was okay. But it was all so superficial. Nobody asked what I actually wanted. Denise offered to let me stay with her, but I said I was fine at Grandma's house. She said I was stubborn. Just like your mom. The house felt so empty now. Just me and Grandma's old things. I kept expecting her to yell at me for leaving the lights on. My parents didn't call or text again. Not for weeks. The weirdest part was how everyone else acted. Like it was just a weird family thing. Oh, families are complicated. You'll work it out. But nobody actually wanted to hear what happened. They just wanted it to go away so they didn't have to pick sides. I started going through Grandma's stuff, finding old pictures, letters, random junk she'd kept in every drawer. I even found some cards from my parents to her. Thanks for helping out. Nothing about me. One day I ran into Roland, an old neighbor at the store. He asked if my parents were back in town. No, I said. They were just here for the funeral. He gave me that look like he wanted to ask more but didn't. I kept getting these little reminders that I was basically on my own. The bills came in. The fridge emptied. Stuff broke. I fixed what I could, YouTubed the rest. Sometimes Denise came by to check on me, but mostly she just dropped off food and left. I started getting angry at everything. Not just my parents but everyone who acted like this was okay. Snapping at Vita, ignoring calls, skipping group chats. My parents didn't come back, but a few weeks later, I got another text from my mom. Can we please talk? Just once. I deleted it. So yeah, that's how the funeral went. Everyone pretending but nothing actually changing. Alright, this is about 2022, like a year after Grandma's funeral. The house still smells like her sometimes, powder, old paper, soup that's been cooking too long. I was still living there because, where else would I go? And honestly, the whole adulting thing was definitely not as fun or freeing as TikTok makes it look. I was barely keeping up with bills. Still fighting with Denise on and off. She started acting like she was my mom now, but not in a good way. More like, are you eating enough? Did you pay the water bill? Why are you up so late? Then she'd leave me on read for days. So anyway, after months of nothing but a couple of hope you're well texts from my mom, I never replied because what would I even say? She started messaging again. Out of nowhere. Every week, then every couple of days. Hey sweetie. Hope you're okay. Thinking of you. Can we talk? Then my dad started too, but he was less sweetie, and more like, we should talk. You can't avoid us forever. I don't know why, but that made me angrier than just being ignored. Like now suddenly they cared because Grandma was gone, and there was nobody else left to do the emotional work. I ignored them for a while. But eventually Denise started pushing me. Just meet up with them. Get it over with. Maybe they'll leave you alone. Vita, my cousin, said she'd want to know why if it was her. I didn't even know what I wanted. But I was tired of everyone acting like I was the villain for not wanting to hear them out. So finally I texted my mom back. Super short. What do you want? She replied like so relieved. Said they just wanted to talk, have dinner, maybe clear the air. I said fine. Public place. 1 hour. That's it. She tried to get me to come to their house. I guess they moved back or maybe they never even left. Honestly, no idea. But I said no. Public or nothing. So we met at this really dull chain restaurant. You know, laminated menus, sticky tables. I got there early because I knew if I was late, I'd have to walk in while they were already watching me. I sat by the window scrolling through my phone, just doom scrolling Twitter. Then I saw their car pull up. My mom got out first. Dressed up like it was some big event. My dad was behind her wearing a shirt I swear he's had since I was a kid. They walked in together but not close. No holding hands or anything. They saw me and waved, like we were just catching up after a vacation or something. My mom tried to smile and sat next to me. My dad across. She started with, "You look so grown up." I just nodded. What was I supposed to say to that? The waitress came over. I ordered coffee. My dad just got water. My mom tried to get me to order food, but I said I'd eaten already. She looked offended for half a second, then smiled again. Then there was this painfully awkward small talk. How's the house? How's school? Are you working? How's Denise? I just gave short answers. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I just blurted out, "Why are we here?" My dad sighed. Said they wanted to be a family again. I laughed, which was maybe mean but I couldn't help it. You're about a decade too late for that. I said. My mom put her hand on mine. Said they made mistakes, but they always loved me. I pulled my hand away. Then why did you leave me with Grandma and never come back? She said. They thought it was best for me. They weren't ready. Things were really hard back then. She kept talking about stress, how they fought all the time, how I was difficult. She actually said that. I almost choked. And that they thought I'd be better off somewhere safe. I looked at her, disbelief creeping into my voice. So, you just dumped me because I was inconvenient? She said, it wasn't like that. But she couldn't actually explain what it was like. My dad got mad at this point. Said I didn't understand what it was like for them. That they were working all the time, fighting, barely scraping by. He said, Grandma was better equipped to handle a kid. I looked at him, my voice rising. Yeah, she basically raised me alone. And you just stopped being parents. He said, you never saw how hard it was for us. My voice was shaking now. You never saw how hard it was for me. He got quiet. Then he said, you should be grateful you had a roof over your head. I just stared. I would have been grateful for parents who didn't disappear. More awkward silence. My mom tried to change the subject. Well, we're here now. We want to make it right. I asked, why now? She said, because Grandma's gone and they realized how much time they lost. I just looked at her. So it's not about me. It's about your guilt. My dad slammed his hand on the table. People were staring. Don't talk to your mother like that. He hissed. Or what? I shot back. You'll leave again? A waitress came over, asked if everything was okay. My mom forced a smile. We're fine. Just family stuff. My dad looked like he wanted to yell, but he didn't. I'm not interested in playing happy families for your benefit, I said, my voice low but firm. My mom tried to say, you don't mean that. You're just angry. I looked her dead in the eye. I mean every word. She tried to touch my arm. I pulled away. She looked hurt, but I was done feeling bad about their feelings. My dad stood up. You're being cruel, he said. I'm being honest, I replied. You'll regret this, he muttered, turning to leave. Maybe, I said. But not as much as you should. He walked out. My mom just sat there, looking at me like I was a stranger. Please, she whispered. Can't we start over? You didn't want me when I was a kid, I said. Why do you want me now? She said. People change. Not enough, I said. I got up to leave. She grabbed my sleeve. I shook her off. Don't go, she pleaded. I just walked out. As I was leaving, I heard her crying. I felt nothing. Just tired. For the next week, my mom sent these long, desperate texts about how sorry she was, how she wished things were different, how she just wanted to talk. My dad sent one that just said, you broke your mother's heart. I blocked their numbers. Then they started messaging me on Instagram. Can we please talk just once? I didn't answer. Vita came over. Said I was being too harsh. I said, maybe. But it's my choice. She said. They're still your parents. And I'm still their daughter, I countered. But that didn't matter to them for years. I started seeing people from high school again, but it was weird. They all asked about my parents because everyone heard something at the funeral. I just said, we're not close. Some people looked at me like I was doing something wrong, like I should be the one to fix it. I started noticing little things like how people acted around me now. Denise treats me more like an adult, but she still nags. Vita stopped coming by as much. I'm alone a lot. But honestly, it's not the worst thing. I've gotten used to the quiet, to just handling things myself. I heard from my parents again. This time an actual letter in the mail. My mom's handwriting. Said she was sorry. Said she loved me. Hoped I'd call. I didn't reply. I thought about it, but I didn't. I started doing more things for myself. Fixing the leaky sink. Learning how to budget. Taking care of the house. Sometimes I get mad and slam the kitchen drawers just like Grandma used to. Sometimes I yell at Denise over text, then apologize later. Sometimes I just sit on the porch and scroll TikTok for hours, not really seeing anything. So yeah, that was the second chance talk. Not exactly a happy update, but it is what it is. I don't know what's next. It's not a neat ending, but it's real. Thanks if you've stuck with me through all this. I don't know if it helps anyone, but at least it's not just in my head anymore. And for everyone who keeps asking, why not just meet up? Why not give them another chance? Why not at least hear them out one more time? Here's the real reason. And maybe it'll make sense. Maybe it won't. It's not just that they left me, or that they miss birthdays or school stuff or all the little things everyone else takes for granted. It's that when they came back, they still made it about them. Every single time, it's them asking for my forgiveness so they can feel better about themselves. Not once have they actually asked what I went through. Not once have they genuinely said, I'm sorry I hurt you. Tell me what you need. They talk about being overwhelmed, about stress, about how hard it was for them. But nobody forced them to leave. And they never once tried to come back for real until Grandma died. And I was the only person left. I don't want people in my life who only want me when it's convenient, or when they're lonely, or because it makes them feel less guilty. I want people who actually see me, who care about what I want, who don't try to flip everything around so I'm the one who has to fix things. They had years to reach out, to show up, to make it right, and they didn't. And now they just want me to let it go because it's easier for them. I'm not interested in being someone's second choice, or their redemption arc, or their emotional cleanup crew. If they ever actually cared about how their choices affected me, if they ever listen without making it about their own pain, maybe things could be different. But they haven't. And honestly, I don't think they ever will. So yeah, that's why. Not out of spite. Not because I want revenge. Just because I finally get to choose who has access to me. And right now, they don't deserve it. Maybe that'll change someday. I don't know. But for now, I'm good with my decision. What do you think? If you were in my shoes after everything, would you have given them another chance? Or have you ever had to draw a line like this with someone in your life? Let me know in the comments below. I really want to hear your thoughts.